going on, everybody? So it's another day here in the corona pandemic world, and I figured I would do a video comparing a Patek Philippe to a Ressence and see what you guys think and see what your opinion is. Which one would you choose? So obviously there's not a lot of similarities between these two watches other than the fact that they're both regulator dials. So we'll start with the Patek. So this is the Patek Philippe 5235G, and it's there's several sort of firsts in the Patek world with this watch. It is the first and only regulator dial that they've ever done. They released this watch in 2011, and they discontinued the 5235G last year, and they introduced the 5235R, which is the rose gold version of this. But again, it is their only regulator style watch. And for those of you who don't know, a regulator dial is basically where you have the small subdial with the hours. You have another small subdial down here with the running seconds, and then the large hand is the minutes. So it's 152-ish or whatever that is. And back in the day, watchmakers used this. They had clocks that they looked at for this because basically they were just trying to set their watches as accurate as they could and make sure that they were keeping time accurately. So there's a couple wristwatch companies that design these regulator style dials, but there's not a lot of them out there. And this is Patek's. So that's a first for them is the regulator dial. Another first for them is the fact that it runs at its own beat. So it's 3.2 hertz, which is 23,040 vibrations per hour. It may be the only watch in existence that runs at that beat, which is cool. It does have a hacking seconds, so you can stop the seconds from running, which is very rare in Pateks. And the movement, which is obviously gorgeous, as most Pateks are. This was developed in the Advanced Research Lab, so it's a brand new movement. It has a lot of components that were brand new at the time. So there are Pulsamax and Spiromax, which is basically a lot of silicon components that use very little lubricants and require less amount of service over time. So the dial is really awesome. It's got this brushed look to it, so this vertical finish. It has an engraved logo, so it's one of the only Pateks that has an engraved logo as opposed to printed logo. And the rest of the dial is everything's silver, but it's different color silver. So the outside track is silver, which is a different color silver than the center, and then different color silver from the subdials. And then the subdials are finished with this circular pattern as opposed to the brush pattern. All the writing on the dial is blue. It's hard to tell in this light, but it really pops in the sun. And then you have the blued hands, which are really cool as well in certain light. From the case side, I think it's 40 millimeters, maybe 40.5 around, and then 10 millimeters thick. So it's kind of a sporty dress watch, I guess you could say. It's sort of it's a satin finish here, and then polished on the top and the bottom on the sides there of the case. And you have the pushers on this side for the day, the date, and the month. You have engine turn polage in two different sizes, so it's small there and large on this other plate. You have Côte de Genève, obviously. The bridges are all polished. I mean, the movement's just beautiful. The micro rotor is this thick 24 karat gold. Most Patek movements are gorgeous, and this is no different. One of my favorite Pateks out there, which is why I bought it, and obviously it's just different from a lot of other stuff. So that's the 5235G. The buckle's cool, sort of this retro style Patek buckle. So again, not a lot of similarities between that and the Ressence, other than the fact that they're both regulator dials. But this is a regulator dial in a very different way. So on this one, you have the running seconds again. You have the hours, the minute. So right now on this, it's 4:20, and this is the day. So Saturday, Sunday are the two orange. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are the white. The movement itself is a 28242 ETA movement. And I know that turns a lot of people off, thinking that it's an expensive watch with an ETA movement in it. But Ressence puts 107 of their own movement parts on top of that to make their own design here. So it's not just throwing an ETA movement in a watch and charging a bunch of money for it. They've really redesigned the entire movement and the entire look of what the movement does. It has all these patterns that are separate on each one of the discs that support the movement, and this is the Type 1N. So N is for the blue. There's white dials and silver, but the blue is just awesome to me because in some colors it looks gray. In the sun, it's bright blue, and then the orange, markers pop as well. The case is titanium. It's really light case, and it's sapphire on the top and bottom, and you'll see the sapphire folds over the top and bottom. So I've actually hit this on a door before, and because it's completely sapphire, there's not a mark, obviously. The movement is automatic, but it only has a 36-hour power reserve. I wish that was a little bit more with this watch, only because it's, I don't want to say it's a pain to set, but it kind of is a pain to set, if I'm being honest. So for those of you that have never seen it, the cool thing with Ressence is as time goes on, the entire dial moves. So every time you look down at your watch, the dial's in another position, which is just really awesome. And the whole thing is loomed too, by the way. If you've never seen this thing light up at night, you should Google it because it's probably one of the best looms out there. To wind it, you're basically just turning the back of the case. So you turn this whole case around and it winds, and you get to a little catch. You can hear it, and that's how you wind it. So you can just go back and forth and wind it that way, but in reality, when you turn the dial the other way, counterclockwise, you're setting the date or the day. So you basically have to go backwards to get to the day that you want it on, and then you go forwards to set the time and wind the watch. So it can be a pain to set it because if I wanted to go to the time today, which is right now 2 o'clock on Wednesday. If I go all the way around to get back to Wednesday, basically now we're at Tuesday night, and that's where I would stop, and then I would go forward a bunch of times until I hit 2 o'clock on Wednesday. So it's kind of a pain to set. It's not that big a deal at the end of the day. It still takes, an extra minute to set it than a normal watch. In a lot of ways, it just makes it that much more fun. But it is really a cool watch. To compare these two is pretty tough. Obviously, they're very different, other than the fact that they're regulator dials. But let me know what you think. Which one would you choose? Would you go with Ressence or would you go with this particular Patek? I don't know. Subscribe to my channel. I don't know what I'll do. I only have 13, 14 watches. When I run out of watches, I may run out of content, but for the time being, you can subscribe. Let me know what you think, and yeah, thanks. Hope everyone's staying safe.